But for whatever it's worth, the teams that had the weeks off, the time off last year, did not fare well. So how about that side of it? Indiana, quote unquote, rust against Alabama that just played a big game a week ago and looked good doing it.
Greeny, if you're like me, you're trying to find a reason to convince people that Alabama is going to win, and that's what I'm going to try to do. That's where you have to rest yourself because all the other matchups really don't favor Alabama. The odds don't favor them. But the rust could be a factor as Indiana sat back a week ago on Friday night, watched Alabama about to get blown out of Norman, Oklahoma, and then come back in every different phase. They shut down the special teams of Oklahoma, which were elite. They made pick sixes, which were fantastic. And then, of course, Ty Simpson got unleashed as well. So that's what Indiana has to worry about in their mind, or Alabama has to hope for. In terms of the schematics, it does not favor Alabama at all.
Paul, just as a quick aside, for you and I, who are a little older than the others in this conversation, but I guess for anybody who has ever followed college football, the idea that we are sitting here talking about, is there a way that Alabama can find to beat Indiana on a college football field? Is if there's ever been any perfect illustration of the new reality of the sport that we live in, Paul, it is that question.
Greeny, I was walking in Birmingham the other day, not far from where Greg McElroy lives, and the guy yelled at me, hey, do you think we have any shot against Indiana? And I was wondering, like, what world are we in that an Alabama fan with 18, 19, I don't know, maybe they've added 20 national championships since this conversation started, would be worried about what has always been the laughingstock of college football. But Greeny, on the greatest stage in college football on Thursday in the Rose Bowl, we are going to find out.
Absolutely. I mean, Indiana, unless Bob Knight was coaching them, you didn't really think you had to take them that seriously. And now all of a sudden, here they are. Now, let's go to the quarterback on the other side. Because, Greg, I may have an interest in the other quarterback in this game, and that's Ty Simpson as well. And the NFL teams will be watching him closely in this game on Thursday. What will you be watching for?
Well, Greeny, you're going to love when you watch Ty Simpson's tape. I think he's the most NFL ready of all the prospects right now. Why? Because he understands matchups. This is 2nd and 3. It's an aggressive down. This is one where you know you have 3rd and short. Take a shot. He sees the matchup. He's got a tight end working against the linebacker. He knows he's got it. The only thing he has to do is talk Halsey, who another guy you're going to love in the draft, by the way, talk him out of covering the boundary receiver. He looks him off with his eyes, gets the trajectory up and down so it's placed perfectly for a tight end who's not as good at adjusting. He also has great feel for protection and audibles. This is what quarterbacks have to do. That's how you play to be 37 years old like Matt Stafford. You don't take hits. You bring and you motion down the tight end. You see all-out pressure, flat top cover 0. You protect yourself. And then when the defense gets aggressive, what should you counter with? Your own levels of aggressiveness. He can adjust the protection. He makes the audible. He fixes the protection, motions the guy in, and takes a shot downfield, places it perfectly to the outside shoulder. He's playing NFL level offense already. Yes, he's had to deal with a couple ups and downs, and the protection has always been a little bit dicey, but they haven't really been able to run the ball. He's carried them to this point. He's going to be the one that has to carry them to potential victory against Indiana, but he's capable, Greeny. I think he's going to make a clear and easy transition to the pros. I really think he's got that upside.
For those who don't know much about his story, he's been there a long time, but he's only a one-year starter at this point. Paul, is the sense that he could go back to college if he wants? Is the sense around the program that he's going to go pro?
It is right now, but that's why the game against Oklahoma in this game is so important. I think there were some people saying that if he played poorly against Oklahoma, which would have been a continuum of the Georgia SEC championship game, he might stay. But right now, he played well. I don't think this game is going to dictate it. There's a lot behind him, including a 5-star freshman that everybody is excited about in Kalen Russell. But my guess is he's going to go.
And then there's one other factor, I guess, in this, Heather, it's worth, as the coaching cycle sort of seems to have come to an end here, the Kalen DeBoer of it all. What are the right things to say about him in this situation, Heather?
If Alabama fans haven't embraced Kalen DeBoer at this point, you guys just need to zip it. I am talking to you Alabama fans, because if you haven't bought in, maybe you should just try a different fan base, because Kalen DeBoer is an absolute gem, and you should be fortunate to still have him given this crazy coaching cycle. And every everyone in college football, not just Alabama fans, needs to reset their expectation, okay? Because the Nick Saban days, the dynasty days, with the way college football is right now, it's changed. You can still win a national title, but you're going to lose football games. And you're going to lose more next year when the SEC goes to 9 league games.
What do you think of that, Paul?
I think the Finebaum audience right now is saying, Heather, you speak just like an Indiana graduate. It's a little bit different down here. Just ask McElroy. They were ready to run him out the year after he won a national championship.
This year, they've been a little bit more methodical. They're 17th in scoring, but they haven't really had the same level of explosiveness. They don't put the same level of fear in the opposing defense. They kind of just grind you down. With Ryan Day, you can expect Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate, their two outstanding wide receivers, to get a lot of shots downfield. They'll move those guys around. They'll put them in the slot. And I think this group, as a result, will become much more aggressive. So I love the move. Aggressiveness is what led them to the title last year.
Yeah, both those guys are going to wind up being top 5 draft picks. Jeremiah Smith could wind up being number 1. How about Ohio State at this point, Paul?
Yeah, I'm not wild about it, but I don't think it's very difficult to call plays when you have the type of elite players that they do. I think they made it complicated in the Big Ten championship game. They even made it complicated last year a couple of times when Chip Kelly was there. But there's nothing complicated about the talent. So Greg's point is probably correct. I don't think it really matters when you have that enormous group of receivers and a very top-flight quarterback in Julian Sayin.
Ohio State, Miami. Heather, final word.
I think it does matter a little bit. You're talking about game day operations in your biggest game of the year. You got to have your guys in the box ready. Ryan Day doesn't want his eyes down on that call sheet the whole time. You got to get your call into the quarterback. Ryan Day is a great play caller, but it's the smoothness of the operation. They got to execute it quickly.
There are so many great stories that abound as the college football playoff continues. I think Miami, the Miami people feel a little disrespected by a huge point spread in this game. How does Miami go about upsetting Ohio State tomorrow night?
They should feel disrespected because if they can play defense, limit the turnovers, and run the ball, they can win this game. When you look at the 2 games they lost to Louisville and SMU, they had 6 turnovers. Carson Beck wasn't at his best, but when he is, they can win. And when you look at Mark Fletcher Jr. running the ball against the Aggies, that was one of the best days they had all season on the ground. And defensively, you got Reuben Bain Jr., and everybody gives those ends a lot of credit, but the interior of that defensive line is equally as good. And if they can get some pressure on Sayin, they can create some turnovers, get a short field, and capitalize on it.
Paul, you've seen Carson Beck win big games a lot in your life down there in the SEC. How about him and them in this spot against the defending champs?
He's a very good quarterback, but I think he's going up against a team that I just don't think he's capable of beating, Greeny. Carson Beck has had an up and down year, mostly good to lead Miami to where it is, but the other side of the ball is so difficult, and I think you saw that and have seen that all year. Ohio State, even in the Indiana game, did not give up a lot of points and gave Mendoza a lot of problems. And I think they will harass Carson Beck mightily in this game, and I think ultimately that is going to be one of the many differences.
Ohio State has 2 guys on defense that figure to go in the top 5 or 6 of the draft. And then, Greg, for those who've not been following this because of circumstances involving departure, we talked about it earlier, Ryan Day is going to take over play calling for Ohio State. How, if at all, do you think that impacts this game?
Well, I think you're going to see a different mentality from Ohio State, Greeny. If you look back at Ryan Day's play calling experience, most recently in 2023, it's an aggressive group. They want to push the ball down the field, maybe not as heavily reliant on the run. They want to push it to receivers, create matchups, win matchups, what have you. With Brian Hartline, who's been calling the plays this year, it's been a bit of a more methodical approach. They haven't necessarily moved their pieces around. So under Ryan Day, I think you can anticipate Jeremiah Smith, their incredible wide receiver, who you'll be talking a lot. 1 year from April, you'll be talking about him. He'll be in the slot maybe a little bit. Carnell Tate in the slot a little bit, moving those pieces around, finding matchups, and creating explosive plays to put the pressure back on Miami to keep up with them in a bit of more of a track meet style game.
NFL scouts, Thursday is one of the biggest games days that you will ever see, with both Fernando Mendoza and Dante Moore playing against really good defenses. Paul, I heard someone say to me that this game, Oregon, Texas Tech, is the under the radar bowl. The 2 teams that people aren't talking about who might win the whole thing. If someone said that to you, what would you say?
I would agree, and for a lot of reasons. Now, Oregon was on the national stage a lot more, but remember that Indiana game when Indiana went all the way out to Oregon and really wreaked havoc at times with Dante Moore. So I expect Texas Tech to do that. But remember, Texas Tech is the team that one man, Cody Campbell, built. He's a billionaire, he's an oil tycoon, and he spent a fortune. And Texas Tech came out of the darkness of nowhere to being one of the best teams in the country, Greeny. That's why people need to pay attention to them.
Yes, they are the perfect illustration of the new reality of college football as we know it. Heather, X factor in this game. What will decide at Oregon, Texas Tech?
Which defense can limit the explosive plays more? Both of these teams are among the best in the country at creating explosive plays and limiting them. But we talk about that Texas Tech defense. That's one of the biggest reasons they are where they are in the college football playoff. And Jacob Rodriguez, their linebacker, is fantastic. He was number 3 on my Heisman ballot because I think he's that good. And so when you look at that defense's ability to limit those explosive plays and take away some of those things that Greg was talking about, that can be the difference in this game.
What are the keys for an Alabama upset against Indiana?
It's the same thing that they did in the first game, and it's to win with game-changing plays in all 3 phases. Look, they're not putting up national championship numbers on the ground by any stretch or on third down. So you block a punt in special teams. You get a key interception on defense. You get a 4th down touchdown pass on offense. Those are the kinds of things, the will to win in all 3 phases, that can continue to advance Alabama in this college football playoff.
And then the high-profile quarterback, again, in this game belongs to Indiana. That's obviously the Heisman Trophy winner in Fernando Mendoza, who might wind up being the first pick in the draft. But, Greg, I've never met Ty Simpson, but I would imagine if I'm him, I'm thinking I'm going out there on that field. I'm outplaying him in this game with all the scouts watching, and I'm going to assure myself of being a high first-round pick in the NFL draft. Can he do that on Thursday?
Well, Greeny, you might not have met him yet, but once you dive into his tape here in the next couple months as you prepare for the NFL draft, you're going to like a lot what you see. This young man does a lot of really impressive things. And he needs the receivers to step up, win those contested catch situations. They need the protection to be sound because, like all quarterbacks, when he feels the pressure, the accuracy dips and the efficiency dips. So he's going to be probably at his best, I would imagine, in order to pull off the upset, but he's certainly capable. He's that type of player.
All right, and then one more. Again, the games in the order in which they'll be played. Ole Miss and Georgia will be the nightcap on Thursday. Greg McElroy will be on the call for that game, so we would never ask you anything that would compromise you at all. But obviously, one of the huge storylines here, Greg, is Lane Kiffin departing and all of that. So as you have prepared for the game and as you have talked to the people there at Ole Miss, what impact does that have on what we're going to see on the field on Thursday?
Well, honestly, Greeny, not a ton. I mean, the players, did they interact with Lane Kiffin? Of course. Does Lane Kiffin give you an advantage on game day? Yes. His eyes on the sideline, his ability to make quick tweaks right before the snap to maybe create a double move against a favorable matchup, absolutely super valuable. But the players and the staff that will remain beyond this playoff experience, they have a chip on their shoulder. They really do. They want to prove to the world that they are more than just one individual that is leaving to take over for their arch rival at LSU. This is a program that has been built with tremendous resources. They have great players. They have a great identity offensively and defensively. And I think they're eager to prove that and right the wrongs of the unfortunate fourth quarter from last time out when they played against the Georgia Bulldogs and they got outscored 17-zip en route to a 9-point loss.
Paul, feels a little bit like a chip on the shoulder game for both teams, right? Georgia trying to reestablish itself, and obviously Ole Miss moving on from Lane Kiffin.
Yeah, but it's still about Lane Kiffin, and the Ole Miss players all week have been asked about Lane Kiffin. They say, no, we're not dealing with him anymore. But his staff, including a lot of the ones that are going with him or who have gone with him to LSU, are going to be calling this game, especially on the offensive side of the ball. So he will be a factor, even though he won't, I don't think, be there. You never know. Lane Kiffin might just parachute into the dome on Thursday night and show up. But I don't think he will be a critical factor, though, because this team is, even though it's in his image, they don't need him coaching this game.
Please let him go to this game. I would really enjoy that very much. Heather, we'll give you the final word. What's the X factor in this one here, SEC matchup, Ole Miss and Georgia?
Well, I'm going to combine what both of my colleagues said. The X factor is the coaches. And Kirby Smart has won more national titles, 2, than Pete Golding has won games, 1. So when you look at Kirby Smart's track record, his overall record, he won 4 national titles as Alabama's defensive coordinator. This guy has been there, won that. And that's not a knock on Golding. It's simply experience, right? At a different level. And Smart has it. So I'm interested in seeing that chess match.
Absolutely. Guys, fantastic morning. Thank you. Greg, Paul, Heather, we'll check in with you guys tomorrow as we get set for the college football playoff. Away we go tomorrow night on ESPN and the ESPN app. New Year's Eve, Miami, Ohio State. And then the triple header on Thursday. Oregon, Texas Tech, Bama, Indiana, Ole Miss, and Georgia. Spectacular days of college football.
You want this, you got that. No way, watch them walk right past you. Run fast while you have the chance. Don't speak, let